My Patreon member's current terminal subclade is I-FGC21735, which dates approximately to the Viking Age around 1024 CE, according to family tree DNA age estimates. He can trace his earliest known patrilineal ancestor to the village of Goosenarg in Lancashire, England, around the mid-1700s. In this video, I'm going to hopefully provide compelling evidence that my Patreon members' patrilineal forefathers were Norse Vikings prior to arriving in the Irish Sea region during the Viking Age. The village of Goosenarg is not too far from the Irish Sea coast in the region of Lancashire, England, which is the region shaded in red in the following map. Here is some interesting information regarding the village of Goosenarg from Wikipedia. Derives from Gosen or Gusan, an Old Irish personal name, and Erg, Norse for hill pasture. The beams in the 900-year-old local church have traces of sea salt in them. People believe they were from old Viking longboats. So already we are seeing a possible Norse connection with this patrilineal line in the village of Goosenarg. The close-by village of Quernmore, not too far from Goosenarg, had one of the largest Viking hoards ever discovered. According to Wikipedia, in regards to the Quernmore hoard, it is believed the coins were buried between 903 and 910, soon after the Vikings had been expelled from Dublin in 902. At this time, the Ribble Valley was an important Viking route between the Irish Sea and York. So here we have more evidence for a possible Norse connection with this patrilineal line with the famous Quernmore hoard. In the 2020 study, Population Genomics of the Viking World, there was a graphic illustrating this Norse connection around the Irish Sea region. My Patreon member is positive for the upstream, very proficient Bronze Age subclade IP-109, which has a strong correlation with the Viking Age. In the 2022 study, the Anglo-Saxon migration and the formation of the early English gene pool, there were 35 ancient DNA samples that tested positive for a subclade downstream of IM253. Only 2 out of those 35 samples were positive for a major branch IY2592, and none of those 2 samples were positive for IP-109. So we have 0 evidence for IP-109 in England during the early Middle Ages associated with the Anglo-Saxons. So all things being equal, if you are positive for IP-109 and you can trace your earliest known patrilineal ancestors to the British Isles, most likely it's from a Viking Age migration. Unfortunately, my Patreon member does not have any close ancient DNA connections. His most recent ancient DNA connection dates to approximately 824 BCE with the I-FGC21733 subclade. But I'm going to include it anyways because it provides more evidence for this Norse association. The sample was mentioned in the 2018 study, Ancient Genomes from Iceland Reveal the Making of a Human Population. In the family tree DNA database, the sample is labeled Dalvik A9. He lived sometime between 980 and 1020 CE. He was discovered in Brimnes, Dalvik, Iceland. So, albeit a very distant ancient DNA connection, a Norse connection nonetheless. Now, my Patreon member has quite a large time gap between his Viking Age subclade, I-FGC21735, and the parent subclade, I-FGC21745, which dates to the pre-Roman Iron Age. So it's difficult to know with absolute certainty which Norse region of Scandinavia his patrilineal forefathers were from. That being said, though, the one sibling branch, IBY76858, which dates to the Roman Iron Age, only has 2 modern testers that claim Sweden for their earliest known patrilineal country of origin. My Patreon members' Viking Age subclade I-FGC21735 most certainly originated in that Irish Sea region. It only has modern testers that claim the British Isles for their earliest known patrilineal countries of origin. Furthermore, in the family tree DNA database, even though there are 2.2 times as many people claiming Sweden for their earliest known patrilineal country of origin as opposed to Norway, who have Y chromosome tested, there are 4 times as many people claiming Sweden for their earliest known patrilineal country of origin as opposed to Norway that are positive for the IP109 subclade. So all things being equal, if we take that information into consideration, along with the fact that his only sibling branch only has modern testers that claim Sweden for their earliest known patrilineal countries of origin, the most likely origin for my Patreon members' patrilineal forefathers prior to arriving in the Irish Sea region during the Viking Age was most likely a Norse region of Scandinavia that is currently situated in the modern country of Sweden. I was not able to access my Patreon members' private data such as STR matches, etc., so I was only able to comment upon the information that was publicly accessible. Thanks for watching.